So let's talk about RipOffReport.com versus the Better Business Bureau, Consumer Affairs, and other sites like Angie's List. What's the difference? Well, in the former, when you're looking at the Better Business Bureau or Consumer Affairs or even Angie's List, they have a certain ethics around their organization. If someone wants to lodge a complaint, first of all, what they have to do is to identify what it is they're lodging the complaint about. So, is it a automotive issue? Is it a general consumer contracting issue? Is it a finance and accounting issue? What is it? And so someone comes in and says, this person, I hired them and they did a bad job, or I wouldn't use them. Get it. That's actually fair criticism. The thing is, it's allowing the person who's on the other side of that to actually rebuttal it and say, wait a minute, I don't know who this person is. I don't know what the situation is, in order to clear their name. There is some sort of check and balance. That's not what RipOffReport.com is about. And as I've discussed in many different ways in previous videos, their whole approach is to draw negative reviews so that the person that's slandered has to come to them and work within their system. They report the slander, and then they cure the slander, or they claim they're going to cure the slander after they fleece a significant amount of money out of them. So what is the difference between a RipOffReport.com and a Better Business Bureau type of organization? And we'll go into that. If you tried to go to Better Business Bureau and say, look, there's something negative about me, I'd like to have investigated, they don't come out and say, okay, well, if you pay us, we will try to find a way to go through some sort of remediation. And why is that? Because then they lose their objectivity as a reporting bureau. Their whole existence is around fair reporting of consumer affairs. It's not about selling additional services to those that are harmed. So on the very face of it, and I've gone into great detail about this, Consumer Affairs, Better Business Bureau, Angie's List are not in the business of slander. They're in the business of providing responsible information from consumers in the market based on the work that was done by certain professions. So once again, on the face of it, this is something that the feds need to look at and say, well, wait a minute. It's not enough to just allow this to go through the courts and then allow the court system to determine, were these people that sued RipOff Report justified in their lawsuit? It has to go to the level of RipOffReport.com shouldn't even exist to begin with. I mean, if you're making hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars doing something, well, then all you do is you go hire a law firm and you park a bunch of retainer fees with them and say, look, we're going to get sued like crazy, so you guys do us a favor and keep them busy in court while we continue to make more millions of dollars to feed the legal system to pay ourselves, and we'll just all be okay. I mean, on the very face of it, it's an illegal activity or it's not an illegal activity. That's what the federal courts have to determine. Now, if the federal courts, which they haven't, determine it to be legal, and they haven't, in several cases they say it's just extortion, well, why are they not stepping up to stop it? I mean, if I'm the Better Business Bureau or I'm Consumer Affairs, I'm going to say, well, hey, why don't we go the same way? Why don't we just lax our ethics? Why don't we just allow everybody to publish whatever they want and just have at it? Well, because they have ethics. And every profession has ethics. So this whole regulation is not only around trying to put some sort of regulation around the Act of 1996, but it's to apply some sort of ethics to the internet. What is it that people are allowed to say? How are they allowed to say it? And I've petitioned in previous videos that the only way to do this is by having a group like the FCC step in and say it is either acceptable or non-acceptable behavior. If they would do that, we wouldn't even deal with these guys like Eddy Magedson. I mean, they're just punks. I mean, they're just really, they have no reason to exist on the internet as what they perceive as a legitimate website. They wouldn't even have a chance to start. So it's very compelling that if this is the case, why the other reporting bureaus aren't stepping up in a manner of industry ethics and saying, this RipOffReport.com has got to go, and all the sites like them have got to go. This idea that, well, it's just what came about, it just doesn't fly. It just doesn't work. There needs to be, if not from the federal government, the other legitimate groups that are providing very good information about consumer affairs to step up themselves. Now, why is this important? Because in my case, if clients wanted to write things about me or my conduct or the work that I did, they have every right to do that. I mean, if it was a legitimate client and they went on and said, we hired Walter Viola under Vantage Consulting, we were disappointed, and whatever, legitimate, okay? But the difference is, in the line of business I'm in, it allowed those people that I did work for as disgruntled employees who I was hired to go in and ascertain whether they're doing the job, the avenue to destroy my practice so that I could no longer provide that service to other companies. See the difference here? And this guy, Eddy Magedson's out there, he's got this complete blank slate of saying anybody that writes anything about anybody must be justified, otherwise they wouldn't go on my site and report it. That's just hogwash. I mean, on the face of it, it's as nonsense as most of the stuff that's put on Facebook by these very effeminate people. You have to have facts, and if you have facts, you have to be willing to either support them in a court of law or support them through some form like the Better Business Bureau of Consumer Affairs. You just can't go willy-nilly out there trying to take out people because you didn't like them. Although that's very current in our culture today, where people just want to express their feelings about whatever. It just doesn't fly. And once again, I would say that Consumer Affairs, Better Business Bureau, groups like Angie's List would be the first to come out and say, well, they're actually bastardizing the industry we're a part of. And if they don't take any offense to it, well, so much for reviews on the internet. So I will list my information again for the GoFundMe account. I will provide the email address. And I'm going to ask you once again, get involved, get active, get Eddy, and let's get some change. And we're doing this for the future. So for those like me that have gone through this and those have maybe experienced even worse, let's do it for those that have not.